Good evening, everybody. I think we can start now. So thank you for joining, everybody. Good evening, hearty welcome. Ms. Shaini has joined. Thank you, ma'am, for joining. Yeah. So, 140th session, web training series of CBSE BHARATH SAHODAYA is taking place, and we are exploring, interpreting, decoding social science question papers released by CBSE. And we are very fortunate to have a resource person who is with a greater experience, a master trainer of CBSE. And the moderator for us today is Tripta Mehra ma'am, with more than 20 years of experience, I should say. And she is a postgraduate from Delhi University. And she is currently working in St. Xavier's Senior Secondary School, Delhi, for the past 13 years. So we are very lucky to have a resource person, Khyati ma'am, and Tripta ma'am as moderator, along with Ms. Shaini, the city coordinator of CBSE Trivandrum. I take this opportunity to congratulate all the educators who have traveled with CBSE BHARATH SAHODAYA in its journey towards empowering the teaching community and for excellence. So thank you so much. Hearty welcome once again. I hand over the platform to Tripta Mehra ma'am to moderate this session. Over to you, Tripta ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir, for this wonderful introduction. Good evening to all the dignitaries of BHARATH SAHODAYA. Our speaker for today's webinar, Ms. Khyati Nirmal Dwarkadas, and all the educators attending this webinar. I welcome you all to the 140th web series of BHARATH SAHODAYA. The topic, as we all know, for today's session is Decoding Social Science Sample Papers for Class 9th and 10th. Ms. Khyati will be discussing the CBSE sample papers for Class 9th and 10th Social Science. She will also be giving us question-wise breakup analysis for the same. Before we start today's session, I would like to give you some instructions. By and large, try and keep your camera on during the session, if possible. Keep your mics on mute mode. You may write your questions in the chat box. At the end of today's webinar, we'll be having a question-answer session for your queries regarding this topic. You will be unmuted as per your request to ask your questions. Now, I take this opportunity to introduce to you our director, Dr. Abdul Salam. Although we all know him so well, I feel privileged to introduce him on this platform. Dr. Abdul Salam is the General Secretary of CBSE BHARATH SAHODAYA. Sir is a CBSE resource person and a master trainer. He is the founder of BTAG, that is BHARATH Transformers Academic Group. He is the principal of prestigious Oxford School Trivandrum and CBSE Deputy Training Coordinator of Trivandrum Region. Salam, sir. It's indeed our pleasure to have your gracious presence in this webinar. I would now request Salam, sir, to take over and deliver the welcome speech.
Thank you so much. Social science community has been requesting. We have 3 beta groups for social science, and they have been requesting to help them with analyzing the pattern of question paper released by CBSE. So on the context, Khyati ma'am was in touch and requested Khyati ma'am to take it up. Immediately she agreed, and we are fortunate here to listen to her. So without much ado, I request the session to begin. Let's all lend our ears to Khyati ma'am and clear all the doubts. Please take this platform with utmost care and with utmost concentration. And please make sure we are clearing all the doubts with regard to the question papers, and wish you all the very best. Thank you. Over to moderate again. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir, for this inspiring welcome to everyone present in this webinar. It is now time to introduce to you our felicitator, Dr. Shaini Matthew. Ma'am has a record of serving the education industry for over 3 decades. She loves children and is passionate about teaching them. Currently, she is the principal of Bright Senior School, Trivandrum, and CBSE City Coordinator of Trivandrum Region. She is also a CBSE resource person and a master trainer. Dr. Matthew, I humbly request you to take over for felicitation.
Thank you, ma'am. And good evening, everyone. God is my refuge and ever-present help at all times. Respected BHARATH SAHODAYA team, respected Director Abdul Salam sir, and the resource person, and the beautiful moderator, and all the felicitators who are just waiting to know the decoding of social science. Wonderful, wonderful session you people are going to have. And it is my privilege and honor that I'm also a part of this. To tell you about social science, this is something that I just wanted to tell when I was given this to felicitate on this particular day, the 140th the serial of this BTAG. You know something, this my main subject was English, but I was given to teach social science. That was my first teaching experience. That was only my subject. But then when the school demanded that, because my daughter was studying in Gulf Model School in Dubai, and the chairman asked me if I could help them because the teacher had left, and then they wanted a teacher very urgently. So I was there, and then he asked me to take classes for 9A, 9B, 10A, and 10B. I still remember, very fresh in my memory. Imperialism and colonization was my first chapter that I needed to take. So I was thinking, my God, this platform that our teachers are getting, decoding social science question papers, I tell you, you people are so fortunate that, you know, you have the privilege to learn and to know how the question paper is going to come, and then you people will have so much takeaway. And I tell you, God bless you to have these kinds of resource persons, and especially our Dr. Abdul Salam sir, conducting such wonderful sessions, providing so much for all the teachers, and the teacher community are blessed because of CBSE BHARATH SAHODAYA. Hats off to you, sir, and hats off to all the members, and all the very best. Keep listening and keep opening your minds to receive as much as possible, and you will have lots of takeaway. Thank you so much. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. God bless you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for this wonderful inspirational message. I feel delighted and honored to introduce to you our resource person for today, Ms. Khyati Dwarkadas. Ma'am is PGT History and HOD Social Science, Innovation Ambassador and School Training Nodal Coordinator in GOPI BIRLA Memorial School, Mumbai. Ma'am is a CBSE Master Trainer and Educator, Board Organizing Member, City Coordinator of CED Foundation, Honorable Chief Mentor SPAA India, Exam Coordinator GCT. Ms. Khyati is skilled in educational sector with over 2 decades of experience and a visionary leader. Khyati ma'am has already conducted many subject-related webinars on the topics like History Class 12, Gamification in Learning, Bloom's Taxonomy, to name a few. And her list of general programs conducted includes Adolescent Education, Art Integration, Ethics and Integrity, Value Education, etc. Ma'am has won many national and international awards for her contribution in the field of education. Without any further delay, let me invite Ms. Khyati to take over and guide us in today's session. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Tripta ma'am. I'm truly humbled by that introduction. And thank you so much, Abdul Salam sir. I was deeply humbled and honored to be invited to take this session today. Thank you once again for the welcome address and the wonderful invite. Thank you so much, Shiny ma'am, for also sharing some of your experiences with us in the social science fraternity. I would just request our esteemed educators for the evening, if possible, keep a notepad and pen handy. You may just want to take down a few points through today's session. And I'd love to have an interaction with you, if possible, preferably not in between the session. You may note down your queries and we'll take them at the end of the session for sure today. So let us waste no time and begin with today's session. Just give me a moment to share my screen. And here we go. I hope you can all see it in full screen now. And okay. So let's begin with decoding the social science question paper, the sample question paper for grades 9 and 10. The agenda for today's discussion will be as follows. We shall first be talking about Circular 57 of the CBSE academic cell. Then we shall introduce ourselves to the CBSE SQP for grade 10. We'll look at the design of the question paper. Primarily, we will then understand the kind of questions. We shall graphically look at the weightage of the subject-wise questions, which will tell us how much % of what kind of questions goes to history, geography, political science, and economics. After which, we shall go for the SQP question by question. We shall also try and take a glimpse and review the good and the bad items. And then I shall leave the floor open for question and answers. So do take the most of today's session. Looking forward to a very healthy discussion. Now, when we look at Circular 57 academics, this is what we are seeing throughout the circular. I'm sure all of us have gone through this circular in particular, where they have given us the change in the exam pattern. And when you look at this, they have said, this year, there will be only one term end exam as per the CBSE, which will include 40% competency-based questions, which will be in the form of MCQs, case study, source-based integrated questions, or any other type of questions. They could also, plus there will be 20% of the objective questions, and remaining 40% will be short and long questions as per the previously existing pattern. There will be no change in the internal assessment. It will remain at 20% or 20 marks, and the CBSE paper will be comprising of 80 marks. So let us then quickly look at how the CBSE has come up with the sample paper. And the CBSE says there will be 6 sections in the sample paper or the board paper: A, B, C, D, E, and F. And there are 37 questions in the paper, and all the questions will be compulsory. Section A will have 20 MCQs of 1 mark. Section B will have question numbers 21 to 24, which are the very short answer type questions carrying 2 marks each, which should be answered in about 40 words. Section C contains questions 25 to 29, which are short answer questions carrying 3 marks, which should be answered in not more than 60 words. Now keep this in mind. Originally, the 3-mark questions were 60 to 80 words. Now the word limit has been brought down to 60 words only. Section D will have question numbers 30 to 33, which are your long answer 5-mark questions, which will be 120-word answers. Section E will be question numbers 34 to 36, which are case study based questions, with 3 sub-questions each of 1, 1, and 2 marks, and the total of each will be 4 marks. Section F is a map-based question of 5 marks. We have 2 marks from history, 3 marks from geography. Further on, they add on to say there is no overall choice in the question paper, but an internal choice has been provided in a few questions. Wherever there is a choice provided, only one of the options need to be attempted. So we need to keep that in mind. We need to instruct our student fraternity at the same time. Now let us take a quick look at the design of the question paper. How does it go? In case if you are a bit more confused or you need some clarity, you may take a quick screenshot of the same. So they say MCQ, 20 questions of 1 mark, which is a 20 mark. Very short answers, 4 questions of 2 marks each, 8 marks. Short answers, 5 such questions of 3 marks each, making it 15 marks. Long answers will be 4 questions of 5 marks each, making it 20 marks. 3 case studies of 4 marks each, 12 marks. 1 map of 5 marks, total of 5. So 37 questions make 80 marks. I think this makes it very clear to us about what is the board thinking. Now, let us look at understanding the type of questions that are going to be coming. Section A talks about 20 MCQs containing the following types of questions. Question 1 to 4, when you look at the sample paper, we will go over it question by question. They talk about having your normal MCQs, plus there's a picture question and a sequence question where you may be asked to put things in chronology or sequence type. Question 5, 6, and 7 are geography questions where you have crop identification with the help of clues. You again have MCQs and match the following. Question 8 to 13 are from democratic politics, where you will see regular MCQs. You will see assertion and reasoning as well. Question 14 to 20 is from economics, and you will majorly see interpretation questions of tables or interpreting data in these questions. Pick the odd one out. There's a passage-based MCQ here too, and there is an MCQ with clue questions. So we shall be looking at each of these questions in detail in today's session. Section B, the very short answer questions of 2 marks, has 4 questions, 1 from history, 1 from democratic politics, 1 from geography, with an internal choice, and 1 from economics. Section C has 5 short answer type questions of 3 marks each. In this case, there is 1 question of history with an internal choice. There's 1 question of geography, 2 questions of economics, and 1 question of democratic politics. When you look at the 4th section, there are 4 long answer type questions of 5 marks each, where in the 5-mark questions, each of the questions has 1 internal choice. So question 13, history, has 1 internal choice. There's a geography question with an internal choice, a democratic politics question with an internal choice, and an economics question also having an internal choice. So this makes it, actually speaking, 4 questions, but the paper setter sets 8 questions because you have to set an internal choice with every single question. Section E is your case study, where you have 3 case studies over here. The sample paper shows you 1 case study from history, 1 from geography, and 1 from democratic politics. The mark breakup is 1, 1, and 2, which makes it 4 marks each. The map work remains skill-based with 2 marks of history and 3 marks of geography. So let us run through the sample paper section by section, subject-wise. When we were analyzing this particular question paper, the sample question paper of social sciences, this is what we find. History has a weightage of 20% MCQ, 10% very short answers, 15% short answers, 25% long answers, 20% case study questions, and 10% map work. Geography, 15% MCQ, 10% very short answers, 15% short answers, 25% long answers, 20% case study, and 15% map work. However, in the case of democratic politics, there is 30% weightage given to MCQ, 10% to very short answers, 15% to short answers, 25% weightage has been given to the long answers, and the case study remains at 20% weightage. So when you go to see the democratic politics side of the paper, it is very high on MCQ. But when you come to economics, the highest weightage has been given to MCQ in economics, which is 35% of the economics MCQ. Very short answers remain at 10%. Short answers in this case have another heavy weightage of 30%, and long answers remain at 25%. Now, there is a reason for democratic politics and economics having a higher weightage in MCQ. Both these sections do not have map work. So that has been moved to MCQ. And the MCQs will obviously be competency based in both these cases, because we have to accommodate skill-based questions. Now, when we look at the mark breakup in actuality of the question paper, MCQ in history is 4 marks, geography 3 marks, political science 6 marks, and economics 7 marks. This is actually simplifying the paper when it is in front of you, not in percentage, but in marks. Then when we talk about very short answer questions, it is 2 marks of history, 2 marks of geography, 2 marks of political science, and 2 marks of economics. Short answers include 3 marks of history, 3 of geography, 3 of political science, but 6 marks of economics. Long answers are 5 marks history, 5 marks geography, 5 marks political science, and 5 mark economics. Case study, 4 marks history, geography, and political science, nothing in economics. Map work for 2 marks in history, 3 marks in geography. If you go to see the subject breakup, it is 20 marks throughout. History, if you go and total the history column or the geography column or the political science or the economics column, it is 20 marks throughout. Each of these columns vertically make 20 marks, which also implies that there is equal weightage given to history, geography, democratic politics, and economics. And the question paper, the sample question paper that we are trying to decode right now, is currently looking well balanced based on the subject-wise division. That's a very, very important thing we need to note. since all the 4 subjects have been very well balanced, it looks like a well-balanced paper. Now, let us run through the sample question paper, question by question. And in this case, I'd love to see some of you, when I ask a question, to put it in the chat box. You may write your answers in the chat box. I will, in that case, open the chat box and see your answers. Now look at this, 20 MCQs. And as we did mention, the first 4 will be from history. What helped in the colonization of Asian and African countries? Identify the correct statement from the following options. So if you attended some of the multiple choice item writing sessions that we've had at CBSE, you would know that writing these kind of questions, what is the right kind of writing a perfect question? And you review the options or you review the alternatives. The stem and the alternatives can be reviewed in this case. And you can tell me whether this is a good question or a bad question. I'll keep the chat box open here on the side. I'd love to see you write in the chat box. All you need to write is a G or a B. Question 1, good question or a bad question. So Aksha Khan says, good question. Rekha George, good question. Surekha Sagar, good question. And I can see a lot of people writing good question. Thank you. Thank you so much, all of you. I understand that you've been very well educated by your respective schools, as well as by the CBSE and the BHARATH SAHODAYA. Okay, I request you to refrain from putting in your questions here. I do understand everybody has a lot of concerns over the history curriculum, but let us first deal with the sample question paper, which we are here to discuss. Okay, the second question, which of the following newspapers was started by Bal Gangadhar Tilak? Is this a good question or a bad question? All right, somebody says direct and a good one, but most of you seem to be saying it's a good question. Rajesh has raised a hand. I would rather have you mention something in the chat. Rosalind Patnaik says it's bad because it's direct. Rekha George finds it an average question. There is Kareng Anu who also says it's an average question. But majorly, a lot of people say good. There's somebody called Chakradhar Moharana who says it's a knowledge-based question and it's too easy. Okay, there have to be some easy questions, so let's deal with that first. There need to be some easy and some direct question. It is recalling information, very true. However, the language of the question is incorrect. It is grammatically incorrect. Which of the following newspaper was started by Bal Gangadhar Tilak? So when you go to see the language, in the context of its language, it is a bad question. We need to guide the student to choose any one correct answer. So the question should have been, which one of the following newspapers, because we have given 4 options, newspapers was started by Bal Gangadhar Tilak? Yes, as some of you do mention, I request some teachers who are here with device names to rejoin with their own names. It is a knowledge-based question. It is targeting the below average or the weaker students. It is helping recall Just imagine if everything in the paper is only higher order, where will the lower order students go? So the CBSE is catering to all kinds of students in the classroom. Yes, Rekha, the grammatical error is something that I have just pointed out. Now look at this. Yes, the second question was good, provided there was no language error. Had there language error continued, it remains a bad question. We need to keep that in mind as well. Now you look at the picture given below, identify the name of the painter of this painting from the following options. And is this a good question? All right, so Sureka Sagar very promptly writes her answer as good question, followed by everyone saying it is a good question. I appreciate this. And Chakradhar Morana writes it is an image-based good question. Great. Look at this. Now, this is a sequential question that I was talking to you about. It talks about arranging in chronological order, right? This is arranging. Question 4 now. It talks about arranging in chronological order. Here, the child is expected to read all the 4 and pick the correct option from those given below. It is a logic-based question, but is it a good question or a bad question? It is a very good question according to Rekha. And Jasmi says it is logical thinking. Preeti Sharma, very good. But yes, majorly everybody finds it as a good. Salil says excellent for those who want to join the humanities stream up in college. It is a very, very good question. We need to make our children think logically. If you notice, yes, it is an analytical question, Raji. If you notice, CBSE has stopped asking dates directly. But we do not stop asking chronology. That is the goodness of this question. We don't need them to know the dates, but we need them to know the chronology. And for the chronology, they need to have the dates in their mind. That is why this makes it a good question. They are made to think, analyze, and reorganize the question. And such sequential questions do make the students think a lot. Now look at this. There are clues given. Identify the crop with the help of the following information. And they've given you 4 clues with 4 options as crops. 201107, which question are you talking about of the Bloom's taxonomy? 4 or 5. Kanakavali says this is a good one. Yes, it is a good one. I do understand people have moved to question 5 and are saying 5 is a good one. Picture-based question, the one that we discussed long ago, Raja Ravi Verma. That question was definitely identification of the painter. It could have come under recall. 5 is good. Yes, absolutely good. 5 is a very good question. In fact, if you're running a quiz in your classrooms, you can use these clues and make them rehearse the crops. So 5 indeed is a very, very good question. Yes, many of you say it is a very good question, a great question. Look at question number 6. Which of the following description of forest is not correct? Whenever you use a negative in a multiple choice item, you need to highlight the negative, refrain from using a negative. Otherwise, if you can do without it, use a negative only when required and highlight it. So they have done that. Which of the following descriptions of the forests is not correct. And they've highlighted not. And you read the question and tell me how good or bad it is. Oh, the chat has stopped. So Rekha says it's good, and so does Kankavali. Okay, but Jasmine, normally a negative is highlighted considering the amount of training programs that have happened on multiple choice item writing. Yes. So it is a good question. Once again, the language, the grammar of the stem is a little problem. But if they could rewrite the problem, rewrite the stem, it does make a good question. Look at number 7. Once again, it's from geography. They've given you resources and examples, and matching of the resources to the examples is expected. It's good because at one go, they have tested the entire classification of resources. Yes, it's good. Unfortunately, it just carries 1/4 mark if you go to see or match the following. No, in resources, you cannot consider it deleted. Forest and wildlife resources, the classification is deleted. The IUCN classification. Chapter 1, I think everything is there. And yes, we will come to this part of the sample paper a little later. Let's look at question 8. Consider the statements regarding power sharing arrangement in Belgium and identify the incorrect one from the following. Once again, they have highlighted incorrect. I think the statements are simple, and picking up a statement is also equally simple. It is a good question. It doesn't seem to be very confusing. They have made 4 correct statements. Yes, Rosalind Patnaik very clearly says the concept is tested. It is good and logical. Redmi says it is good and logical. Otherwise, majorly, all of us do find it easy and good. It's very clear. When we look at question 9, which of the subjects come under legislation of center and state in India? Which one of the following subjects comes under the legislation of center and states in India? And we have education, forest, banking, and trade. So I think Sobi, you joined a bit late. We will be taking in questions at the end of the session. In the meantime, let us analyze this SQP question-wise. And we realize it is a good direct question. Which of the following statements is true regarding feminist movements? At question 10. And Joseph feels it is an average question, whereas somebody says it's very important. All right. Yes, but majorly it is a good question because feminist movements are something that students prefer to skip in case of learning concepts. It is a recall-based question, yes. It's good, it balances the paper. If you go to see the trend, if they don't put in recall-based questions intermittently, it will not balance the paper. They have to keep in mind that 40% questions are CBE. So when 40% questions are CBE, we need to make sure that we take them through the paper. All right. You have a very good question here from 201107. Our students followed 2 editions of the textbook, 20 and 21, and the content is changing. Well, let me tell you, in my case, I have advised them to follow the 22 edition of the textbook, the 22-23 edition of the textbook, and the entire statistical data has changed. However, I help them update the data since the book is not easily available. It is available only on the NCERT website. I have advised them with the new statistics. I would request all the teachers of our fraternity do the same. It is always nice to keep abreast and updated with the most current statistics. I wouldn't say you need to Xerox or photocopy a book. It's easily available for free online. Students can download it. Why worry about photocopying? What a waste of paper. Which one among the following pairs is correctly matched? And once again, here they talk about, look at this list 1 and 2. They are talking about the party and kind of alliances created, and only one actually matches, which they have also matched and kept. The student doesn't really have to do much. Then there are two statements in assertion and reasoning. And look at the assertion and reasoning question. It is supposed to be an analytical based question where democracy is an accountable, responsive, and legitimate government, and you are asking them to read the reason and analyze. Apparently, subject knowledge is very much required, yes, as per Joseph Andrews, and it is very, very categorically seen that the question is a good question. There is no flaw as such in the question, and students need to think on facts and then answer. It is an interesting question. Yes, Sunil Pandey. Which one of the following religions was protected and fostered by Sri Lankans in their constitution? And this, once again, is a thought-provoking question. It is not necessarily a recall question. It is not necessarily a recall question. When you go to see from a student's perspective, they are studying so many chapters in political science. It's easy, yes, for sure it's easy. But it is not necessarily a recall question. For the teacher, it's very easy and a recall question. For a student who is learning democratic politics from this particular chapter till the outcomes, it is a lot of content. And all religions by then will sound the same. So they need to pause and think and then write. So it's a good, easy question, but a little thought-provoking. Because by then you need to have developed your ethnic division of Belgium and Sri Lanka clearly. Then we have read the given data. We've come back to economics now. Read the given data. You want me to quote the Bloom's taxonomy. Have you 2011-07, have you attended any session on the Bloom's taxonomy, sir? Oh, ma'am. So then you should be knowing the taxonomy. In fact, you should be the one telling me whether it fits into the lower or the higher order. Okay, read the given data and find out the children of which state have attained maximum elementary school education. And this one direct, it's a direct question. Absolutely direct question. You just have to read and pick up. So if the students are a little average, this is not analytical. You just have to read and pick up. It is not as much of analysis as the table looks and the big gaga over the table. Look at question 15. Read the following data and select appropriate options from the following. How much percentage of girls are not attending school? So here you have to actually sit and calculate. This question needs calculation. You need understanding. You need to train the children in this case. It's a very good question. You need to train the children that if this is the data, you need to go backwards. You need to be able to deduct, apply logic, and find out. We need to train our students for these. Also look at the next question, 16. Find the odd one out from the following options. And if you go to see, this is also a very, very direct question based on the understanding levels of the students. Question 17. Look at the sector and the criterion used. Primary, secondary, tertiary is the nature of the economic activity. Organized and unorganized is dash. And they have to choose what makes a criteria for organized and unorganized sector from here. And do you think this is easy, direct, thought-provoking? Application-based, Manoj, absolutely true. It's a question with a purpose. I agree. It is application-based, question with a purpose. The student is made to pause, think, read, and analyze. It is an application-based question. Look at 18. Read the information given below and select the correct option. Rohan has taken a loan. Okay, this is about everything to do about loans and money and credit, collateral, etc. So there is a story created. Once again, it is much like the textual story on collateral. Much about the collateral story of the text. And it is a good identification question, but the student has to assimilate the story, understand it. So it is an application question. Look at question number 19. Which of the following internal agencies allow free trade and work on mutual trade between countries? Once again, it is a remembering question, direct question, but is it a good question? Yes, it is a good question, as I can see all of you writing in the chat box. I appreciate the fact that you are putting in a little more effort into looking at the items, analyzing it with me together today. And together we are working as a group of social science facilitators. Okay, so Ram Vishal Mishra ji, I request you to change the name of your device to Ram Vishal Mishra rather than writing your name with every question. Look at question 20, which is the final MCQ. Identify the correct statements about globalization and look at the way they have put it. 1 and 2, 2 and 3, 1 and 3, 2 and 4. They have not said 3 and 4 anywhere. So they expect the student to do this. I can see that everybody in the chat is particularly writing. It is a very good analysis of the concept. If the student knows the concept well, he or she will be able to answer this question. So with this, we complete an decoding of section A. Let's clap for ourselves at the end of the very first section. I'd love you to clap for yourselves. It gives us the satisfaction that we have gone through a major chunk of the question paper. Now let us look at the very short answer questions. Analyze 2 factors that were responsible for the Great Depression in America. And is this a good question or a bad question? They have given you, look at the answer. They have given you about 6 pointers. Any 2 points need to be selected. What is the word limit in the case of a very short answer question? Do you remember it? What is the word limit? So Maya Anil Kumar, congratulations. It is a 40-word limit. In case of 40 words, we need 2 points. Do we need them to explain 2 points? Do we need students to explain 2 points? No. In 2 points, they will write correct. By just writing 2 statements, the word limit will be achieved. So the question says analyze. Where is the scope for expanding and analyzing? There is no scope to analyze. The students now, when they write those 2 points to make it 40 words, have to articulate themselves in writing. This is testing the writing skills of the students more than their thinking skills. They know the answer. Now they have to compose the answer to make it into 40 words as an analytical question. Because the question demands an analysis. It does not demand for reasons. This is something we need to train our students on. Look at question 22. Mention the provisions that constitute India into a secular country. It's 2 points that they are writing in the answer key, not in the question paper. In the question paper, they do not say write 2 provisions. It is a direct question for 2 marks. Nowhere do they say write 2 provisions, which also means that the student is likely to write more than expected, because the student does not know that 2 marks indicate 2 points. Briefly answer-based question, yes, but they just say mention the provisions, which means they expect all provisions to come in, not 2. We need to understand that in this case, they are expecting only 2 points to come in as they have written in the answer key. 2 points, 2 marks. Only then will the 40-word limit fit in. However, there is no negative marking if the student, based on the language of the paper, adds on to the written questions. Question 23 suggests 2 ways to conserve energy resources in India. Now here they are very particular. 2 ways are requested. Only 2 ways, 2 ways, 2 points, 2 marks. And again, optional, suggests 2 ways to improve usage of solar energy. Once again, 2 ways, 2 points, 2 marks. And in fact, here they would need to explain because 40 words are not being met with. And majorly in this case, every point which is a relevant one, as somebody writes, open-ended question would be accepted. Because these are suggestions, and sometimes suggestions go beyond the book based on what the students see. Selva Kumar George, I like that question. Normally, social sciences do not deduct marks for spellings and grammar from the students because this is not a language paper. In what ways government can increase employment in rural sector? Again, 2 points, 2 marks, but they don't tell the students write 2 points. So this is another glitch in the paper. This is a direct question. It is not an application question, Selva Kumar. This is given very much in the economics textbook. It's directly a lift of the economics textbook. Somebody says 5 is awarded or 1 mark minimum. It's a 2 mark question, and I think 2 points should be sufficient. They haven't specified, Rajni Shivakumar here, whether they want 1 point or 2 points. a student may feel free to write. What is the 0.5? 0.5 is not given. 0.5 is not given. Everything is the 1 and 0. CBSE has done away with 0.5 long ago. CBSE has done away with 0.5 long ago. So normally they don't give a half a mark for anything except in case of those short and long answers. Normally the board is very clear, 2 points and 2 marks. However, now here they are not very clear in every single question whether they want 2 points or more. So if they don't mention 2 points in some questions and they expect the students to write more, but in the answer key, they are writing 2 points carry 2 marks. So they are now confusing students about what to do. So Rekha, we will deal with the 5-mark questions a little later in today's session. Yes, every point, Rekha Jyot, should be in complete sentences. We do not accept incomplete answers, incomplete sentences. If you're writing only 2 points, we expect at least a complete sentence written. So let's quickly deal with the further few questions that remain before we run out of time and Dr. Salam stops us from discussing. After a very, very long time, I think not many sessions have happened in social science in the 140 sessions that I've seen. So let's quickly complete the session. Let's look at section C, which deals with short answer questions, which are 3-mark questions, again, of 60 words. We expect only 3 points to come, but the board says explain. You need to guide students that explain again means it will be in numbered points, as you can see in the marking scheme. Relevant points are generally considered. Normally, the answer scheme of the CBSE, even in the final exams, does talk about accepting relevant points. But that does not mean random relevance. It means really relevant to the topic. Okay, these are the questions where sometimes the evaluator may look at the entire. You need these to be 60-word answers, Geeta. And when you look at these questions, you're expected to explain according to the question. And when you write answers in complete long sentences, they will automatically explain. You don't beat around the bush, but you talk about the point articulatively, and the students will be able to well explain these points. In fact, in many occasions, we have noticed that whenever there is a word like explain or discussed used, students normally combine a couple of these points and put it as 1 point. That is how they think they should be explaining. Now, how did the Indian merchants and industrialists relate themselves to the civil disobedience movement? Once again, we say explain. So when we explain, we come back to the same thing. Explain in 3 points for 3 marks. Okay. Then there is something called examine the factors that influence the distribution pattern of the railway network in India. There are 5 or 6 points in the book, but they are expecting only 3 points. Examine. So when you examine, you can guide your students that when you examine, you try and show the pros and cons, not only one side, because it's only then that you are examining. In what ways was the MNC different from other companies? Explain with an example. So probably would go for 2 points of differences, and explain with an example means 1 example. The breakup should have been 2 plus 1. However, here they say any 3 points. So yes, that is the CBSE, a very student-friendly board. Then we come to differentiate between democratic and non-democratic governments, and the democratic governments are very clearly shown. Differentiate also 3 points on both sides should suffice. Normally, we write differences with a tabular form, so 3 points on both sides should suffice. Tertiary sector is different from other sectors. Justify the statement with suitable arguments for 3 points. And once again, 3 points are asked. Section D, the long answer questions. If you go to C, highlight the various measures and practices that the French revolutionaries introduced to create a sense of collective identity among the people or the French people. And most of you happen to say it is an application or an analysis-based question, and 5 points are expected. In a long answer question, we need to keep in mind that 120 word is a limit. So they should actually write well. Again, it is a memory-based, application-based question. Somebody says, should they write from the NCERT? Yes, you should always try and first use everything that the NCERT provides before your own knowledge, simply because the evaluator at the CBSE will thoroughly know the NCERT book. And if most of you happen to be evaluators, you will automatically know how difficult it gets. It's a time-bound process of evaluation. And if you find points which are not in the NCERT book, they will automatically not feature in the model answer unless they are the open-ended suggesting questions, in which case suggestions are welcome. But when the question is clear and frequently asked like this, stick to the NCERT as far as possible. Highlight the role of Bismarck in the making of Germany, and the question is clear, 5 points. Manufacturing sector is considered as the backbone of general and economic development. Again, this is a very clear question for 5 points. In fact, the textbook gives you much more than these 5 random points here. So the students can definitely write 5 very well explained points. And examine the multi-pronged aspects of IT and electronics industry. Now here, a lot has been asked. A student needs to really think and write when doing this particular question, whereas 31A is a direct question. We just lift from the textbook and write. But here you need to think and write. And in this kind of a question, it is possible for the student to forget a few points here and there. So always advise your students on making the right choice in the optional questions. 32, describe the role of political parties in India. Now, this is again a very, very direct question, and 5 points are easy to find. Or the option is describe the necessity or utility of political parties in democratic countries. Once again, this is a very frequently asked kind of a question. There are those pages around page 75 where this kind of a question has been, they pick up the first line or the last line of the page and they ask you this question. So this is one of the very frequently asked questions over the years. Then explain the role of SHGs in the rural society. So when you look at the role of SHGs, it's very clearly given in the book. Any 5 points in the role are accepted. Muzammil, I think you've been asking this question for a long time now. Should the options be from the same chapter? You've been seeing it in the SQP that they are from the same chapter. So yes, the board does not omit any of the chapters. Examine the significance of the RBI in the economy. And this was normally coming only for 3 marks. And the supervisory role of the RBI was expected. But now it has moved to a 5 marker here. That means the kind of explanation required on the role of the RBI has increased. So all those of us who teach the economics section have to be teaching it in a different perspective. Coming to section E, I will not take too much of Dr. Salam's time. Section E talks about case-based questions. And you look at the case study. Sometimes it may happen that the case study may not be a source box. It may be a part of the textbook. And there may be questions related to it. Or it may be something from outside and the source may be given, but the questions will always be based on what is in the text. No matter where the case comes from, the study is of the text. So normally, when you talk about the case-based questions, they, yes, can ask the source-related questions too, yes, but they don't generally ask the students to lift answers. They hint at a particular topic of the text in a source, and they ask questions, or they are asking you analytical questions if you go to see in these three questions. Look at this now. This is everything about Narmada Bachao Andolan. They've given you the source and how the Narmada Dam was constructed and what was the happening in the aftermath. And look at the questions. Why was the dam built? And analyze the reasons for the protest by the tribals, highlight the issues for the movement. Okay, case-based and source-based. Both are the same, Selvakumar. Case study and source box. Now, case study would mean any passage. Both are passage-based. Case study would mean any passage. It need not be source ABCD of the textbook. It could even be 2 lines of the textbook as a case, or it could be an external passage from a newspaper, a magazine, or journal, or a primary source. It is all a part of the case. And a source is definitely trying to hint at a textual source. All right, so let's move to the third passage, which talks about power sharing. And the questions again are very clearly based on power sharing. All the questions are not at all MCQs now. Last year they were MCQs, just me. This year they are all analytical questions if you go to see, majorly higher order thinking. Section F, which is the last section of the paper, talks about history and geography map work. If you go to see, history map is mandatory, but in geography, they have given you 4 places. The student is to attempt any 3. There is an internal choice provided because the geography map list is wide and huge. Plus, we have to teach the students that a dam is drawn with a river. It is not just pointed. The other things all have a legend. I'm sure everyone knows how map work is done. Apparently here they have just marked a dam. Accuracy is something that we need to teach students to have. Without accuracy, map work will go incorrect. It is not always that the CBSE evaluators will be very lucky and grant that leeway. Normally, it is taken as 100% accuracy. Okay, locate and label is where the student has to mark a place, and identify is when it is a pre-marked location in the map. There's a dot given with a clue. So if you go here, identify the place. A is marked Indian National Congress session at this place in 1920. So A was marked there. The student had to write over there in the line, Calcutta. And the second clue was the place where Mahatma Gandhi broke the salt law, Selvakumar. So there we know it was Dandi and it was marked. So the student had to do this. Normally, history map has a couple of places, something like 9 places, which come for 2 marks. And they normally come for identification. Textbook has a political map. And here too, they give you a political map. In case of soils, it is a physical map. Okay, now I can see a lot of questions coming up in the chat. Tripta ma'am, could you please unmute these people, because the chat, the speed at which the chat is going is truly very, very quick. And I may not be able to read through the entire question coming in the chat.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
thank you so much, Dr. Salam, for inviting me and giving me this opportunity for being here as a part of the CBSE BHARATH SAHODAYA complex and the BTAG academic group. It was indeed my pleasure to be here trying to decode the SQP for grade 9 and 10. And I hope I've done justice to what I was meant to do. We shall be taking all the questions as per Tripta ma'am's recognition of the queries. It will be my pleasure to answer all the questions. And if we run short of time, you may connect with me with permission of Dr. Salam. So I'll close the chat box. If you have any feedback for me, feel free to write your feedback in the chat box or even say it openly towards the end of the session. I'm sure Dr. Salam will have shared feedback link with you. Great. I can see a lot of people still writing in the chat. Thank you very much. I'm truly humbled by the kind words coming in the chat. Yes, over to you, Tripta ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am. That was truly a wonderful and a fruitful session. As we can see from the chat box, there are so many appreciation and wonderful messages coming from the people who've attended the program this time. And then itself is an indication how everyone is being benefited from your valuable inputs. We will quickly move on to the question answer session now. Salam sir, shall we go ahead?
I guess he's a bit busy, but yes.
I know. Yes, many people have raised their hand. 2 of them I can see. This is one person named as Kanakwari.
Madam, there are people who raised their hands who they want to ask questions.
Yes, we can
Yes,
unmute
we are
them.
here for them, sir.
Either Noya.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
Thank you so much for this wonderful session. It was really informative. Ma'am, I wanted to ask you a doubt regarding identification of places on map. Okay. Ma'am, most of the time, children write the answer on the answer script instead of marking it on the map. Is it appropriate?
It is actually not appropriate. If you look at the questions that come in the CBSE, they very clearly write, identify the place in the map in the space provided on the map. So the student is actually expected to write in the map itself in that line drawn there. However, as CBSE is a very student-friendly board, if it comes in the answer script, they do accept it. They don't deny it. But we need to train our students to make sure it all goes on the map.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am.
My pleasure.
Next, we can have Ms. Kanakwari. She may ask her doubt now.
Yeah, good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
Yeah, Kanakwari from Telangana. Yeah, under case-based questions, do we get the paragraphs of the text beyond NCERT textbook? Or is it directly anything from the 4 textbooks?
No, it can, there can be a scope. They do write the source also. Yeah. Because ultimately the questions will be based on the textbook, not necessarily from the source. Always keep in mind that now with competency-based questions, it is pointless lifting textual paras.
Yes.
There is
Yes.
no competency being tested. It's
Yes.
only when
Yes.
we take something from outside or make it a little complicated in the reading of the passage, and you ask direct questions on the text that is in the NCERT book, it becomes easy for competency testing.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Welcome.
Next, we can have Mr. T.N. Chaudhary. So you may unmute yourself and ask your question if you want, Mr. T.N. Chaudhary.
And those whose questions are answered, I request you to lower your digital hands.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
T.N. Chaudhary, sir, you're muted.
Hello, good evening, and
Good
thank you
evening,
for
sir.
wonderful session, ma'am. Like map question, no, we have also doubt about the MCQ questions when students are writing. Like if they are writing options only, or if they are writing answers only. Do we need both things, or any of is okay?
Sir, if you noticed the PPT that I was showing you, the board is expecting option number with the answer. Sometimes it is difficult to recognize the ABCD if it is small. But if the correct answer is written, the intention of the child is clear. So it is always wise to write both.
Okay, one more question related to the session. Regarding when we are applying for certificates, no, it is not given about this decoding social science question paper. The topics if we are applying for feedback or certificate.
Okay. I guess Dr. Salam can help you with that. I'm not very sure of that. You
Thank
can
you.
ask
Sir, please check it after 5 minutes. I am adding.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Ms. Rekha George, please. You've been very active participant so far.
Yes, but I don't see her.
I know the video is not on.
Okay, but
We can then ask. Yes,
Yes,
ma'am,
Rekha,
she's
ma'am.
available.
yes, Rekha ma'am, please unmute yourself. You're not
Ma'am,
audible, ma'am. You're on mute. You need to unmute, ma'am.
Who is
I think we need
Okay,
to share.
Rekha ma'am? Yes, yes.
she's unable to mute.
Rekha ma'am,
unmute
you have
herself.
to ask them to unmute. So I will do it.
Okay, sir. I'll do it.
Yeah, I did it.
Yes, good
Okay.
evening.
Good evening, sir.
Thank you for a wonderful session. So here, first of all, my doubt was regarding that MCQ questions. Children, they used to write with the options only. So I have mentioned that. And they are not writing the complete sentence. And without that, are they eligible for this full credit? So how much, if it is 1 mark question, can we give 1 mark?
The student will be awarded full scores at the CBSE as of now. But just as I mentioned in the previous gentleman's question to ma'am, it is always wise to write both because the ABCD may not be very clear for the evaluator when they are writing. So if the ABCD with the correct key is mentioned in the MCQ, it becomes a clear intention for the evaluator. At the same time, we need to train our students to refrain from cancellations in MCQ.
Okay.
So then it works well for them.
Okay, ma'am. One more doubt that is regarding our curriculum. So in the curriculum, it has been mentioned that in the resources and development, in the beginning, they have mentioned concept, development of resources. Actually, classification is not coming over there, but they are asking questions from classification. Likewise, forest and wildlife resources, the theme that they have started in the curriculum with conservation of forest and wildlife, but even before that, the classification of IUCN, it is there. So should we teach that? And in the same manner, in the rise of nationalism in Europe also, we can see they have mentioned the unification of Germany, Italy, only that. They have not mentioned about the strange case of Britain, but they are asking. So
what happens is, in this case, I don't know how the board functions, but somebody is setting the curriculum, somebody is setting the paper, and somebody is going to be evaluating.
Okay, so it is safer to teach everything, except they have mentioned,
Yes.
wherever they have mentioned it is deleted portion, only that we can exempt. Rest all we have to teach.
At the CBSE website, in the curriculum, they do not mention anything that is deleted. Whatever is deleted, they have said excluding this particular box or picture.
Yes,
And
yes.
if you go to see, the SQP has actually excluded only that much.
The manufacturing industries, cotton, textile, and cotton, jute, sugar, iron and steel, excluding. And even cement industry.
And so the question in the SQP is from the other industry.
Yeah, they have asked one
actually
question.
excluded. Yes.
Yeah.
So that is how they have followed. They have followed the CBSE curriculum. They have not followed the rationalized curriculum that many people are currently following.
And ma'am, one more thing, why they didn't reduce this much? That means from history, geography, they have not revised anything. The whole portion we are struggling with, and we do not have even external choice. That means
there is a rationale behind this. Ma'am, in the last 2 years in the pandemic, it was because of the pandemic that the board was saying we will rationalize the curriculum and reduce it. Actually, when you go to see in social sciences, this kind of curriculum is not taught in the middle school and is not carried forward in the senior secondary. But it is an important aspect in learning these 4 subjects of social science. So there's no point in deleting the curriculum.
No,
We are
even
not teaching them to read.
when we compare with 2019, before the pandemic also, more than that, they have increased this time.
Probably because the board feels these are important topics and we need to come back from the pandemic with a very well resilient student group. And teachers need to be more resilient than students. Therefore, social sciences is given the opportunity to set a good example.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. That's all.
Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Now I ask Ms. Shamim Elizabeth.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Shamin Elizabeth, you can unmute and ask.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
Ma'am, actually, I have a doubt regarding MCQ question itself. Some students, what they do is they write the like A, if A is the right answer, they'll have A in their answer, but what they write will be wrong. Because I had the same experience with the last exam.
No, in that case, it will be given incorrect. If the option number and the answer do not match, the board will give it incorrect.
Incorrect. And one more doubt, ma'am. If it's a 2-mark question, as you said, the students are supposed to write like any 2 key points are enough, no? Like any 2 value points enough, right?
Yeah, 2 value points
compulsory
sense, provided the board is asking for 2. Like we saw in some questions, they don't say 2 points, but in the answer key, they write 2 points. So the student will be allowed to write more.
And then they have to like explain a little bit. No, ma'am, it's not that they just write one sentence. No, because the students have
40 words is barely 3 lines. It will be 40 words.
Okay, ma'am. Yeah, thank you so much.
So Ms. Chandralekha Banerjee now.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, ma'am, for the lovely session. I had a doubt on this source-based, case-based question. I wanted to ask you, can we give question which is related to the source, but the answer of which is not directly in the source?
Ma'am, that's exactly what we've been talking about today. I think a couple of people before you have also asked the same question. The source can be from anywhere. It could not necessarily be from the NCERT textbook. It could be any random source which is mentioned at the end where it is taken from. But the questions have to be related to the content in the NCERT textbook.
No, ma'am. My contention is, supposing I take one paragraph, say from water resource, one paragraph. My question may be from the paragraph above that paragraph. Is that possible?
Yes, it is possible. It has to be from the NCERT textbook related to the topic you are giving in the passage.
Okay. So the passage need not exactly contain that answer. It can be below, above, but it should be in that chapter. That's all.
Yes, it has to be it has to be having relevance to the passage that you are asking. Like you saw in the Narmada Bachao passage in the SQP. It's all about the Narmada Bachao Andolan, which may not even be dealt with in that depth in the classroom conditions. But all the questions are directly from the textbook. So that is testing the competency levels of the students. It is not giving them to lift an answer and write.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am, so much. I wanted to.
May I ask now Ms. Sridevi to ask a question?
Shalva Kumar is there.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
His hand is raised for a long time, Selva
Yes,
Kumar.
yes.
Yes, yes.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening. This is Sri Devi.
Yes, I'm Sri Devi.
Yes.
So, ma'am, I have a doubt that for 5-mark question that main points are necessary. Is there, if the students want to write any sub points?
They're allowed to write. They're allowed to write. 5 marks is a full page. 5 marks is a full page answer.
Full page answer. Okay. So they want to write the sub points also.
Yes, they will write all the sub points, main points, everything. Full page answer in numbered points.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Welcome. Mr. Selva Kumar, are you there with us?
Good morning, ma'am. This is me, Selva Kumar.
Good evening, sir.
Madam, actually, thanks for this really a valuable session. You answered me all my questions, actually, though I interrupted a lot in the middle of the session. I have only one doubt, actually. For example, if I say to my children that, let me put an example that, for example, there is a question from history. It says that Romanticism is a cultural movement which criticized reason and science, which glorified mystical feeling and emotion. My children, the problem with my children is that they are just dividing these 2 points in, they are dividing, actually it is a single theme. They are dividing it into 2 points. They are claiming me mock. My concern is right now that, should I stick with the theme or should I stick with the point?
No, you will first train your children to write these kind of answers, sir.
Okay.
It's only after that they have been trained and practiced with previous year's questions will they be able to then understand what is expected of them. And once they have understood clearly what is expected, then you will not face this problem only. You will have removed the problem from its root.
Okay, madam. Okay, madam. The problem with, I'm facing this problem with the guys who are in the, which mean that I cannot say them, they are low achievers, that.
Yes. Sir, no, you in the classroom situation only, you take this question as an example. And
yes,
you tell the students what is an expected answer. Maybe you can put it up on a word wall kind of a answer sheet or something. Or you can give a handout with these kind of questions. You can select a couple of these kind of questions and
yes,
share with the students. So they are mentally trained. And then you will be able to guide them as to how they can answer other similar questions.
Yes, madam. And please, one more question too, madam. Actually, when it comes to CBQ, 40% of competency-based question, my question is that I'm training my children out of the box. For example, I'm keeping everything based on NCERT. I asked a question that, assume that you are a merchant who moves to Nagaland. You are establish a shop over there. But after some time, you establish a shop in a well that your financial condition is okay. You are trying to occupy, which means you are trying to own the land in Nagaland. So that's why I asked, and as you said, actually, it's like case-based question, madam. So I have given a scenario that my question is that whether board will give a kind of a case-based question or a kind of a very direct question when it comes to especially CBQ, madam.
Sir, when it is
have any prediction on that, madam?
When it is competency-based education, the board will always try and make the students think. It can be MCQ, it can be short, long, or very short answer question, but it will always make the student think. The same question that you have just spoken about, I have changed the setting. And in one of my previous papers, I have used it to talk about everything that money cannot buy, money in your pocket cannot buy. I had changed the scenario and I had given it. However, when you talk about such kind of questions, you need to particularly, sir, train the children. You need to give them, if you are in a South Indian school, you need to first talk to them about Nagaland, about your art integrated partner state.
Yeah, we did it, madam. We did it.
You need to take them around the country a little. You need to shift them into a different backdrop. And then if you ask them these kind of questions, they will get into the setting. Coming from South India, if you directly take them to Nagaland without a backdrop in mind, it will be
actually, madam, one good example here is that in my school, nearly what do you call the 10 more teachers who are working from North India, even from Northeastern India. So they just get mingled in with the people. That's what I intentionally took up that question. Actually, they used to have an interaction with those teachers from North and Northeast, even from Northwest also. So that's a very intention of taking up that particular kind of question,
then
madam.
I'm sure the students would have done a very good job with that kind of question.
Yes, madam. Thank you so much. Which means that my question is that the competency-based question, it's like a kind of, we cannot predict. Am I right, madam?
It's already given in the paper, sir. If we went through the sample question paper, we could obviously see the competency-based questions. They were not the direct questions. They were asking the students to apply their knowledge. Anything in the Bloom's taxonomy, like somebody was asking in the chat, put each question with the Bloom's taxonomy. So anything in the Bloom's taxonomy, which is above understanding level. Recall and understanding are the lower levels. Anything in the Bloom's taxonomy, which is above that, will go for competency-based.
Okay, madam, I got a blend picture. Thank you so much for your, really, you just helped me a lot, and it just, you just answered me all my questions.
My pleasure. I'm here for that today.
Thank you, madam.
I see one more hand raised, Ms. Sunita.
Thank you, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yeah, absolutely audible, ma'am.
Okay. My question is regarding optional questions, ma'am. See, actually, same question number is given to both the questions. So how the students, if the student attend the second one, so how it gets separated?
All right. This is a very good question, and intentionally I had not spoken about it in the discussion of the SQP. I was waiting for this question. Apparently, when the student chooses an option from the optional questions, we expect them to write a title before answering. That guides the evaluator as to which of the two questions are they writing on. And then once they start writing after the title, it is easy to understand.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Welcome. Do we have any more questions, Tripta ma'am?
I don't find any, ma'am.
I think that's all.
Okay.
Wind up, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now I take this opportunity to thank some people without whom this session would not have been conducted successfully. A big thank you to Khyati ma'am for giving us a detailed and clear understanding of CBSE sample paper. And ma'am, I must appreciate that you've been very patient and very calm and very pleasantly you handle all the questions and queries. And I'm sure all the participants must have got a clear understanding and gathered valuable information from your webinar. Also, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to Dr. Abdul Salam for giving me this opportunity to moderate today's session. Sir, it's been a really wonderful session throughout, and it's an honor to be associated with Bharat SAHODAYA. A special thanks to all the dignitaries and the educators attending today's webinar. On this note, I, Tripta Mehra, would like to take a leave. Wish you all good night. Take care. Hope to see you soon. Goodbye. God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tripta ma'am, for the good job done to CBSE BHARATH SAHODAYA's 140th session. And thank you so much, Khyati ma'am. I don't know how to thank you. The session there was serious learning happening. And you were very crystal clear in terms of your interpretation. decoding of social science question paper. Very meticulously, systematically, precisely planned. Thank you so much. Hats off you two for the beautiful and mesmerizing presentation. Really, you are one of the best resource persons that we have ever seen. So thank you so much for the clarity that you have given to all the social science community teachers, and I'm pretty sure they are now very clear. And those who have missed, don't worry, we will be posting this in our YouTube channel. This is being recorded so that you can take it as a reference in your later journey. So thank you so much, Khyati ma'am, once again, and be in touch. We need your service for the entire teaching community of India and abroad. So thank you each and every participant for joining us. Keep be connected. We'll see you once again with another topic, definitely with Khyati. So thank you so much. Good night.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Salam and Trupta ma'am. And I'm always there for the Bharat sir. There, anytime that you need me, just count on me. Thank you so much, sir. Truly humbled to be with you.
Thank you, Trupta ma'am and Khyati ma'am and each and everyone. Good night.
Good night, sir. See you soon, sir. Thank you.